Okay guys, so today we're going to be making banana muffins. I already got everything set out for what we're going to need. We're going to start off by preheating the oven to 375 degrees. Make sure that's the first step that you do. The next thing, in a large bowl, you are going to measure out the flour. And that's going to be 1.5 cups. Okay, then you're going to do baking soda and baking powder. They're two different things, so make sure you use both of them. This is what makes the bread rise. And you're going to need 1 teaspoon of each. Okay. The next thing that's going to go in this bowl is salt. And you need only 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and mix it up. Just use a whisk and whisk it all together. Okay, and then you can set that aside. Go ahead and put these things away. Okay, next thing that we're going to need is, in another bowl, we are going to beat the bananas first. Okay. So you want bananas that have a lot of brown spots on them. The more brown, the better, especially for this banana bread, because we want it really sweet. All the sugar is in the banana once it's browned. Okay, if you get a banana that has like some green on it, it's not going to be sweet at all. The bread is going to taste really gross, actually. I've tried it before to see how big of a difference it makes, and it does make a big difference. So you need 3 very, very ripe bananas. Okay. And go ahead and use a masher to do that. I had already put 2 bananas in here before. The next thing that we're going to need is 1/3 of a cup of butter that's melted. So you want to get, it is called sweet cream butter. You can get the Walmart brand. Butter is what you need, not margarine. Margarine's totally different. If it's cheap, then you're getting margarine, and that's really not good for you. So make sure it's butter. It'll say butter on it, okay? So on the label, you can see that it tells you where to cut it to get that measurement. Okay, so on here, I'll move up so you can see it. It says 1/3 is right here. So I'm going to cut it here at this line, okay? And then I'm going to want to save this because I'm going to need a tablespoon later, okay? These are measured out in tablespoons. For each little box, it's a tablespoon, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and microwave this to get it melted. We need it completely melted. Okay. So while that's going, I'm gonna go ahead and get the egg prepared. We're gonna go ahead and also measure out some sugar. Okay, so now I have my butter, my egg. So let me crack this egg. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and set that aside. I'm gonna whisk it up a little bit, beat the egg. You can do that with a fork. You don't need an actual whisk. So all the wet ingredients are going in here, and you'll learn about trying to keep wet and dry ingredients separate. So I'm putting all the melted butter in here. Go ahead and get a spatula. Okay, get all the butter out because you're going to need it. And then I'm going to go ahead and add the sugar in. We need 3/4 of a cup. So 1, 2, and 3. Okay. And then we're going to put the bananas that were smashed in here. So I'm going to go ahead and use my fork. Okay. The whisk will work better. So this recipe is gonna also have a crumb topping, and that's what makes it super delicious. Okay, so now that I've got this done, I'm going to want to pour the wet mixture into the dry one. Okay. And once you combine the wet ingredients with the dry ingredients, do not overmix. Because if you overmix it, what's going to happen is that the bread is going to be hard instead of soft and fluffy. Okay? So make sure not to overmix. You're not going to be stirring it. You're basically just making all of it get combined. Okay? Don't use the whisk because that actually will get all the flour stuck. Use a silicone spatula like I'm using right now, and make sure you scrape out all the wet ingredients out. Okay. So now I'm just going to gently combine it. Notice how I'm not like doing this number, okay? You're just combining it so all of it becomes wet and not dry. Scrape all the dry ingredients from the side, bring it down into the center. You don't want any dry spots. Okay, so now we can begin putting it into our muffin tin. I already lined them with paper, okay? You don't have to, but I recommend it because it makes your life a whole lot easier to clean afterwards. You want to spray it also. Sorry guys, this isn't open yet. I usually try to use a measuring cup just to get it into the muffin liners. Don't fill it all the way to the top because then you're gonna have it overflowing later. Anytime you bake something, you can always use your hands because it's gonna be cooked all the way through. So any like germs or whatever you may have, it's gonna get killed anyway. Unless it's a virus, but you know, we'll learn about that later on. And yours may make more depending on how full that you fill them up. So I usually try to fill it up like 3/4 of the way and scrape it out of the bowl as much batter as you can to make as many muffins as you can. It looks like I have enough to make one more, so I'm going to go ahead and get one more muffin liner to do that. And I'm going to spray this. Last one, it's gonna go here. Any spills you might have made on the tin, make sure to clean it up because then it's going to burn onto the tin and it's going to be hard to clean and it's going to make your house smell. Okay, so we got all that done. The next thing is my favorite crumb topping. Okay, so I'm going to set this aside for right now. We're going to need 1 tablespoon. So again, each little box here on this butter is a tablespoon. So I'm going to cut that because all we need is 1. You want it solid, not melted. Okay, we're going to use this in just a second. So in a bowl, we're going to get 1/3 cup of brown sugar in here. Okay. Go ahead and pour it in here. Set that aside. Then we need 2 tablespoons of flour. Let me get our flour. And then 1/8 of ground cinnamon. Usually these measuring spoons don't come in 1/8. I do have a 1/8. If you don't have a 1/8 and you have a 1/4, you're going to use half of 1/4. You're just going to kind of estimate. Okay. Okay, and that's cinnamon. And then I'm going to go ahead and mix it together. I'm going to mix this together first. Okay, just use a fork. It should just be combined. Okay, and then that tablespoon of butter, we're going to go ahead and put that in here. Most people don't have a pastry blender, but I do. We'll use this in class. This is called a pastry blender, and what it does is it cuts the butter that's solid. You can use a fork if you want to push it down, but since I have a pastry blender, I'm going to go ahead and use this. Okay, so we want it to kind of look like wet sand. Okay, it's going to be very crumbly. And what makes this crumble topping really good is because of this butter, what's going to happen is we're going to sprinkle all of this on top of each of the muffins. And when it's baking, it's going to melt and it's going to harden. And so it's going to be a little crispy at the top of the muffin. And that's what makes it taste so good. It off a little bit with a fork. Okay, so now that I've done that, this is the last step, and then we can put it in the oven to bake for about 18 minutes. Okay. So go ahead and get your tablespoon and sprinkle some all over each of them. This one was a little full, so this one's gonna probably spill over a bit, but it's okay. So you can see it here. They're all done. We're gonna go ahead and put it in the oven. For 18 minutes, and I'll show you the end result.